Welcome back to Operation Evil. This is episode 89, Omaima Nelson, the Thanksgiving Cannibal. I'm your host, Nyoka.
I'm Rachel.
And we hope that you had a great Halloween and that you enjoyed our last episode with the spooky stories. Thank you again to everyone who submitted their stories to share. And as always, we are always taking your stories and we will just save it for next time. So feel free to do that. But now that Halloween is over and Thanksgiving is just right around the corner, me and Rachel were talking, like, what do we do? And so we came up with telling you a Thanksgiving murder story.
Which then now is a great opportunity to say what we're thankful for.
You. All of you. And each other.
And not to be eaten.
In our fabulous Facebook. I love the people that interact with us.
I want to shout out.
Okay.
Well, we both do. Melanie.
Yes. We love her. We do.
Just want to say hi, Melanie.
Yes. And also, before we start, if there are anyone out there that want to share their story about something they experienced that could be considered evil, email us at operationevilpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to have you as a guest. And if you haven't seen our new magnets, they are posted on our Facebook and they're amazing. They're huge. They're like the size of your hand. Like, they're pretty awesome. We got 4 different styles.
They're probably, like 6 inches?
Yeah. Yeah. They are pretty awesome. And if you're interested in purchasing one, you can just message us. We can do that. But I think that's all I have for housekeeping. Do you have anything that you want to share before we jump in?
I just want to throw out there, you can always message us on Messenger too, like on our Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go through, emailing or whatever.
That's very true.
That's it.
We're very active on Facebook. Well, Rachel might not see it for 3 days, but I see things right away.
Yeah.
All right. So this story, this story is extremely disturbing. It doesn't involve any children, and that's like the only positive thing I can say about this one. So the story I'm about to tell you involves rape.
The only positive thing.
Yeah, that is seriously the only positive thing.
Okay, wait, though. Nyoka was telling me a little bit about this before, and I got hungry for barbecue sauce, is all I'll say. I'm sorry, that's a sick joke, okay. I'm sorry, but there's probably going to be some jokes because this shit is dumb.
I know.
Yeah, it's freaking stupid. Okay, please continue.
I know. So, okay, it involves rape, murder, dismemberment, and cannibalism. Woo, I almost said that wrong. So if this is like something that you can't handle, you have a weak stomach for, this is your time to go ahead and turn off this episode and you can listen to our next one, which will probably be a little less gruesome. You've been warned. Listener discretion is advised. I love saying
we're
that.
Ready.
Here we go. Okay. So the murderer in this story has been compared to the real life Jeffery Dahmer and the fictional cannibal Hannibal Lecter. The murderer is a woman named Omaima Nelson. Her victim was her husband, Bill Nelson. This is their story. Dun, dun, dun. I wanted to be like Law and Order. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know.
Oh, you made me think of Dateline.
Oh, really? Okay. I like it. Okay. So before I get into the nitty gritty of the story. You're cracking me. Rachel's on a roll today. She is in rare form. And I can't wait to get your reaction throughout this whole story. But before I do get into the nitty gritty, I do want to give some of the background with especially Omaima's background because it's a little unique. So,
okay.
Omaima was born in 1968 in Egypt. She had a very hard life from a really young age. Her father was an alcoholic and a very abusive man. He was also sexually abusive to his wife and to his children. At age 7, Omaima was subjected to female genital mutilation, where they cut off her
Oh
clit.
no.
Yeah,
I remember hearing stuff about like watching episodes on Oprah about that.
it's awful. It is
It's
awful. And the
yeah.
thing is, they did this to her, and she's 7. Can you imagine being 7 and you're being mutilated like this? But the worst part is that they didn't use any kind of sedation.
Oh my
They
gosh.
didn't use sterilized instruments to
So
perform this procedure.
do we know if this is like a thing her parents did, or is it like a thing that was like a cultural thing, like in her country?
I don't know because I read that her father had it done, but it could have been a cultural thing. I'm
And
unsure.
maybe cultural thing is the wrong thing to say, but like I remember on Oprah, it was like
There are some cultures
certain
that do this.
countries.
Yes,
Really, it is a thing.
I think so. I think there are. But the fact that they didn't sedate her in any way, and the fact that they didn't even use sterilized tools is horrible. And because she was mutilated like this would make sexual intercourse very painful and unbearable for the rest of her life because she had
That's
that
terrible.
scar tissue built up. So she will never, ever, ever enjoy sex at all. Never. So moving forward, her parents do end up getting a divorce, and her mother moves them to what they call the City of the Dead. Have you ever heard of this in Egypt?
No.
I had to look into it. It was literally that. It was homes surrounded by a lot of cemeteries. And that's why it was
Hmm.
called the City of the Dead. And from what I understand, and I think they said this on the Snapped episode, which I will put in the show notes what season and episode it was. I think it was kind of like for the poorer people because it was like and it was not a desirable area to live in.
Hmm.
And that's why they called it the City of the Dead. Now, when she turns 18, Omaima meets an American oil worker and they get involved romantically. Her parents really start to push marriage with them because she's no longer a virgin. And her family was like, there will be no Muslim man that will accept her now because she's not pure.
Mm.
But I mean, she's okay with this because she sees this man like he is my ticket to freedom and financial security. I can leave here. So this was
Oh,
not a bad
okay.
thing for her. So she marries this man, and when he finishes the job in Egypt, he takes her to Texas where he lives. And according to immigration records, she arrived in the U.S. on November 26, 1986, and was granted immediate residency because her visa said that she was married to a U.S. citizen. Unfortunately, though, the marriage ended shortly after they got back to the United States. So now Omaima is alone in a country she just doesn't even know. It's so unknown to her. She doesn't speak good English. And this had to be like a really scary thing for her. I mean, I think it would be for anyone. You're in a country that you don't
Mm-hmm.
know or understand, and you could barely speak the language. And that had to be like a scary situation for her. Now, she also didn't have like any job skills either. And she would just take like random jobs like cleaning houses or being a nanny just to make some ends meet. And she would occasionally find work as a fashion model. Omaima was gorgeous, gorgeous. She was slender and petite. She had olive skin, cut glass cheekbones, and doe-like eyes. And I'll post pictures of her in her younger years on Facebook for you to see. I mean, she was gorgeous. I guess what I'm trying to say is she didn't have any problem finding a man. Like none at all. Okay. She was like, I mean, she
Okay.
modeled for crying out loud.
Right. I'm sure she was very striking.
She was. And she used her looks to her advantage on everything she did in her life. So, as much as I'm talking about her, you're probably like feeling sorry for her. She probably doesn't sound so bad, right? Like she must be sweet and innocent during this time of her life. But police records would state otherwise. Police records actually show that Omaima had a record of misdemeanor charges that included, and they were charges from 1989, that included like petty theft and drunk driving and even a hit and run. So she was by no means
a hit and run.
Yeah. Yeah. According to Randy Morash, he was an owner of a bar called Ray and Sandy's Hideaway. He described her as a woman given to temper tantrums. Friends and former boyfriends described her as a woman who would take advantage of older, financially secure men who let themselves fall victim to the thrill of dating a younger woman. A 61-year-old man that she dated once from Huntington Beach actually said, quote, she was looking for guys to take care of her, end quotes. So I guess you can assume that she was like always on the lookout for a sugar daddy of some sort.
Yeah, because it kind of sounds like from the beginning when she married her husband to get to. Well, I don't know. Did she really marry? Yeah, I guess she really didn't marry him to get into the U.S. He was already over there, but.
Right. It just worked out, I guess. But she kept finding relationships like this. And I don't know if it's because she was kind of a gold digger or if it was because she didn't have these job skills and she didn't want to rely on modeling to always like make money. I mean, it's really hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, plus if she was abused and stuff like that, maybe she genuinely wanted someone to take care of her or, feel secure.
Yes. So now that we know like a little bit about her, I want to kind of talk about her victim, Bill Nelson. They met when she was 23 and he was 56.
50. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize there was such a big age difference.
Huge age difference. And they met in 1991 at a local bar. And Bill was from Texas. And he was described of having this personality that's like larger than his Texas style belt buckle. Okay. Like he was flamboyant. He was like, everyone knew he was in the room. Like he just was one of those people where people would be like, oh, hey, Bill, what's going on? Like he was just that guy. And Bill weighed 230 pounds and he stood 6 feet 4 inches tall. And he drove a red 1975 Corvette. So you know that Omaima looked at Bill and assumed that he had some money that he could provide for her in her future.
How was he not too tall for that Corvette?
I don't know. Well, it was a convertible, so.
Sorry, dumb question.
No. I mean, that's a thought.
I'm just picturing him like, this big burly guy.
You know that she saw that Corvette and was like, dude's got money. I need him. Right. So within days of them meeting, they got married. Like literally within days. Yes, it was that quick. So they got married in Arizona and then they honeymooned at a ranch that Bill owned with his brother in Texas. Now, I want to get into Bill's background because he's not perfect either. Court records show that Bill actually flew narcotics and hot electronics across the Mexico-Texas border, and twice Mexican authorities shot down the planes that he was piloting. And he served time in prison for this, 4 years to be exact. Yeah.
That sounds like shit out of a movie.
It really does sound like a movie.
Yeah, shot that shit down out of the sky.
Yeah. So after serving his time, it was obviously time for a career change, right? So he gets a job at Cannon Mortgage.
Oh, sorry.
I know. Time to change careers, bud. You're not a good criminal. So he gets a job at Cannon Mortgage, where he's a part-time computer programmer and messenger. Now, Bill has 5 children and 17 grandchildren. He had kids that were the same age or older than Omaima, and they did not respond to her very well for this reason. Well, those who knew Omaima and Bill said that they made a good couple, despite the 33-year age difference. Julie Anderson, an acquaintance of theirs, said that they seemed to, I don't know, get along really good. They were just really good together. And the last time that she saw them, they were joking around and having a rubber band fight. So although Bill was like a lot older than her, he didn't act like it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes age
kept up with her.
Doesn't matter.
No. Like, he did not act old by no means. And some say that he was just as spunky as she was. Another person described the couple as quiet and mysterious. And I thought this was great because I'm like, mysterious is like the perfect description, if you ask me, because it was actually unclear whether the Nelsons ever really got married at all. And this is why I say that. When things went down, and I'm going to tell you what went down, but when things went down, they could not locate a marriage record for the two of them. But you know what was found? Bill was still married to a woman named Kathy in the Santa Barbara County community of Santa Maria. And Kathy Nelson filed for divorce in November 1990 while Bill was serving time in prison on drug charges, but the divorce was never finalized. It was just slow moving, I guess, because he was in jail and everything. So it was never final. So it's really hard to say if they were married at all. I'm thinking no, but for the sake of the story, I'm just going to continue as if they were married, because this is how they referred to each other as husband and wife. And not even a month into this so-called marriage goes by and everything goes to hell. On Thanksgiving, which was November 28th, 1991, in the city of Costa Mesa, California, Omaima Nelson bludgeoned her husband, Bill Nelson, to death and then allegedly ate him. And it went down like this. On December 1st, Omaima shows up at her ex-boyfriend's place. And from the Snapped episode, I got his name was Jose. I did not find his name in articles, but I'm going to say Jose because Snapped told me it was Jose. So Jose is like, what's my ex-girlfriend doing here? Right? And she's like, I killed my husband. And then she offers him $75,000 that's said to be in Bill's safe and 2 of Bill's motorcycles if he would help her dispose of his body. And he's like, yeah, sure. Why not? Absolutely. Sure. And he goes outside.
For a little bit of money and some motorcycles? Sure.
Yeah. Well, he's smart because he's like, yeah, I'll help you. No problem. And he goes outside like he's getting stuff out of his car and shit, but he goes to the payphone and he calls the police and tells them what's going on.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So she's still at his place, right? And the police knock on his apartment door. What's going on? What's going on?
He must have known she was crazy from the get-go.
Yeah. So police show up, right? And she denies what Jose told them. And she's like, no, Bill's not dead. I didn't kill him. He's in Florida. He's alive and he's in Florida. And she must have been like a really bad liar because police were like, we're not convinced. Like, And the Corvette is parked outside, right? Convertible Corvette parked outside. They see something in the back seat and it's a bag, like a trash bag. And they look inside the trash bag and there was human organs in there.
Oh gosh.
They call the coroner. Like, dude, can you come down and confirm this? Like, what are we looking at here? the coroner, comes down and he's like, you see this? This is a lung. Do you see these black spots on the lung? That's from a smoker. This person was a smoker. Yeah. So it was a human lung, okay?
Oh my God.
So now the police are like taking Omaima to the police station for questioning. And while that's going on, other officers went to her apartment, her and Bill's apartment, to see if anyone was home, because they're like, I'm going to knock on the doors, see if anybody's going to answer. But of course, no one does. So they gain entry into the apartment. And back to the interrogation while this is going on, we got two things happening. And in the interrogation, she continued denying killing Bill and instead flipped the script and said that Bill killed someone. And she also claimed that he was a rapist. And
That's
she
not
said,
suspicious.
No. She even said, quote, he had enemies. Someone set me up, drugged me, and I woke up and the police thought I did it, end quote. She is a bad liar, like a bad liar. Meanwhile, let's get back into the apartment. So the cops gain entry into the apartment and police notice there's some like cardboard boxes. I mean, the apartment's messy or whatever, but it wasn't until they like really looked, they're like, oh, there's some cardboard boxes out. And inside those boxes contain the same kind of trash bags that was in the back of that Corvette that had the lungs and everything in there. So they open up these trash bags and there was more body parts and they were wrapped in newspaper too. And they found a broken lamp and a clothes iron. And these items had blood and they had remnants of Bill's scalp and hair on them. Things are looking gross, right? And the more they walked around that apartment, the worse it got. Like, you think it can't get worse, and it does. So they're in the kitchen now, and they see hands in the frying pan. They were cooked along with some white turkey meat. Oh, yeah.
What the hell?
Oh,
she
yes.
just left all this out in the open.
Yes.
Wow.
In the freezer, you got your hot dogs in there, your peas and your carrots, and Bill's head. Yeah. His head was there. Okay. And it was really like distorted because she actually like fried his head in a deep fryer and then put it in the freezer.
What?
She has reason for all of this, and I'm going to get into it. I know this sounds like bizarre, right? But I will tell you her thinking here very, very soon. In the bedroom, oh man, I got to see if I can find pictures. In the bedroom, they saw two broken bedposts that could have collaborated with her rape story, right? Like, I was tied up and I was raped and blah, 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 right? But the mattress and the box springs were so heavily soaked in blood. There was no way. Like, they knew Bill was there at one point. Like, it was bad. It was bad. Now, since she's like claiming he raped me, all this stuff, whatever, they send her to the hospital for a rape exam. And the results from the rape exam were negative. They didn't show any evidence of any kind of trauma, vaginally or anally. Nothing. No trauma. So that was a lie. Omaima told the police that the relationship quickly soured and she regretted getting married. And she said she wasn't happy and began having second thoughts that they got married so soon. The more she talked, though, like the more conflicting accounts she gave about what happened to her husband. And at one point she said, quote, Nelson is dead? Oh my God. I wish I knew what happened. I just don't remember, end quote. Later, she acknowledged that she knew Bill was dead. And that was because the police confronted her with everything that they found in that apartment. And then she confessed to killing him. And she
Yeah, I
said,
mean, at this point,
yeah,
what can you say?
you can't deny it now, lady. And she's like, psh, bust it, right? And she says, quote, something told me that I had to do it like demons, end quote. Have you noticed that demons always come up in our murder stories?
I was just thinking that it's always the
It's
demons.
always the demons.
They always blame the demons.
I know they do. Poor demons. So needless to say, she was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. She said that he was trying to strangle her when she hit him with a lamp, and then she hit him with clothes iron until the handle broke. And then she grabbed nearby scissors and started stabbing him in the chest and stomach and killed him. And she said, quote, if I didn't defend my life, I would have been dead. I'm sorry it happened, but I'm glad I lived. I'm sorry I dismembered him. End quote. Additionally, she claimed that her husband would pimp her out to old creeps in exchange for rent, cash, and in one case, a car. When he died, she butchered his body on the kitchen floor. She then boiled his hands in oil to remove fingerprints. That's why the hands were in the frying pan. And then she stuck his head in the freezer after she'd like deep fried it or whatever, so that she can later break his teeth out, which was kind of smart, I guess, if you're going to
Why did
do
she deep
this.
fry it though? Like what?
Maybe it made it easier somehow to
It
break the
sounds like she's
teeth. I don't really know.
it sounds like she's done it before.
It does, doesn't it? And then, for more revenge, she made a point to castrate her husband too. Yeah, she sure did. Now, she stuffed some of these body parts into trash bags and she fed others down the garbage disposal until it broke. According to court documents, she told a psychiatrist that she put on red shoes, a red hat, and red lipstick before preparing Bill's ribs with barbecue sauce, put them in the oven, and then, upon sinking her teeth into her dead husband's glazed flesh, declared, quote, it's so sweet. It's so delicious. I like mine tender, end quote.
Crazy bitch.
Later,
God.
later, she denied eating her husband, and she will continue to deny eating her husband. So this is all alleged, but come on now. I think we know. When asked like what her purpose was in cooking him, she declined to answer. Another,
What good answer can you give? Like,
well, I got a good answer for you. An interesting thing came out for the reason why she dismembered him. And they said she did a good job at it. Like it was pretty clean.
that's why I think she had to have done this before.
It makes you wonder, like, what does she do in Egypt, right? We don't know her history in Egypt. But she said that she chopped her husband's body into parts so that she wouldn't meet him in the afterlife, as Egyptian mythology claims that would happen. So I actually like looked into this belief, and I found out that Egyptians from all walks of life believed that living a life pleasing to the gods in this world meant a better chance of being rewarded in the afterlife. And they also believed that the afterlife was a real place, and preserving the body, like mummifying, for example, was important because it was the home for their spirit or soul. So if the body was destroyed, the spirit might be lost. So that makes sense to me on why she destroyed his body and cut him up into pieces to scatter him. Because in her thinking, like this does prevent her from meeting him in the afterlife.
I wonder if you just, that's why she's denying it. Maybe it, you do it and you don't speak of it again.
I don't know. And
Hmm.
on top of all this, she also claims that she's like a descendant of ancient Egyptians and that they talk through her and at her and tell her to do things. So now I'm going to jump into the trial. Now that we know what happened and what went down and her background, it's time to see how this is going to play out. So, Deputy Public Defender Thomas Mooney said that he would introduce evidence that Omaima is a long-suffering victim of the battered woman syndrome and that the psychological malice is behind the November 1991 killing. Mooney said that Omaima had been involved in other abusive relationships before meeting Bill Nelson, and that he also abused her during their 2 months together. Deputy District Attorney Randolph Pulaski told Judge Robert Fitzgerald in Superior Court that the prosecution will suggest that Omaima had other motives. He said that he will try to prove in trial that the deep, bruised rings around both of Bill's ankles are evidence that he might have been in bondage during sexual acts with Omaima the night that he was killed. Omaima had twice before tied up her lovers during sex acts, only to hold them at gunpoint and demand money. And she might have been doing the same thing that night because she does have a habit of doing this. It's a pattern.
That's terrible that, yeah, and that's terrible that, that stigma is like with him, that claims of abuse.
Oh, absolutely. And it makes sense when they were talking about like the bedposts that were broken on the bed and like all the blood on the
Mm-hmm.
mattress. Like I think she totally like tied him up and did this same thing. And for some reason
Yeah, because I mean,
she killed him.
yeah, especially like too, like you would think someone, if he was that size and he's trying to get away, he could maybe break free from the bedpost. Maybe that's why they broke.
Yeah, definitely. She watched without any emotions as prosecutors presented pictures and allegations about the fate of Bill Nelson. I mean, there were graphic photographs showing the remains, and attorney Pulowski said Bill's hands apparently had been fried and that his torso and lower body were skinless. And these were like the photos that are being shown in the court, and she's not showing any remorse at all. Now, Omaima also faces 3 other felony charges in an unrelated case, but she is accused of tying up Robert Hansen, a former boyfriend, and demanding money at gunpoint in November 1990. She is charged with assault with a deadly weapon, false imprisonment, and attempted robbery in that case. Now, he didn't go to the police after she did this. He got free from her and like got away with his life, but he was so embarrassed about this even happening to him that he didn't go to the authorities. And it
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
until now that it was brought up and that it just, verifies her crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he just stayed quiet. When Omaima took the stand, which I'm surprised that she took the stand, because, usually they don't. But when she did, she sobbed as she recalled the physical and sexual abuse by her husband. She told jurors that Bill would turn violent if she refused his constant sexual advances. She said that he screamed, quote, "I paid for you. I'm getting what I paid for." He said he doesn't care what I want anymore, end quote. She shook and cried as she said that he once handcuffed her and sodomized her and would often beat her and force her to perform oral sex. She said it wasn't until their honeymoon that she learned of her husband's dark side. She said, quote, "I was looking for someone kind and nice who wouldn't beat me up, someone to give me the love I never found before," end quote. She said she stayed with her abusive husband because he always apologized for his actions. But once, when she tried to leave him, he beat her. An example of the abuse she endured was when they went driving back home to California from their honeymoon. She said that he demanded that she perform oral sex in the car. When she refused, he grabbed her new kitten and threw it out of the car window. He also threatened to leave her alone in a desert or report her to immigration officials as a Mexican prostitute if she did not meet his demands. She said, quote, "It was sex all the time, 3 times a day." And she also said that once handcuffed her husband at his request after the two watched porn together, and he took pictures of her in a bikini, and he later forced her to perform a sex act. Now, despite days of testimony about dismemberment, missing body parts, and an allegation of cannibalism, jurors were asked not to consider the mutilation of the victim when considering their verdict because Omaima was suffering from a mental breakdown at the time. Public defender Tom, I know, isn't that crazy to ask the jury of that?
You can either, I'm sorry.
They knew they lost this case, right? To say that, it looks bad.
Yeah.
How do you defend someone that did that? Now, public defender Tom Mooney asked them to consider her abusive upbringing and the physical and mental torment she suffered at the hands of her husband. But Deputy District Attorney Randy Pulaski told jurors that the victim was Bill Nelson, and he said the evidence shows that Omaima planned to kill him and flee with his car, credit cards, and cash. He said big lie number 1 was her claim that Bill was sexually abusing her when she stabbed him. Bruising on Bill's lower legs, which were chopped off at the knees, show that his ankles had been bound during a struggle shortly before his death. She said that he was never tied up prior to his death. Thank God we got those legs, the attorney said. One disturbing fact, some parts of his body were never found. Like, in fact, the coroner's office weighed the accumulated body parts during the autopsy and found that 80 to 130 pounds of Bill Nelson was missing. That's how much.
Wow.
The jury deliberated for 6 days before acquitting her of first-degree murder, but found her guilty on second-degree murder. And jurors were disturbed by the evidence presented at the trial. One juror said, quote, "All I want to do right now is go home and go to bed," end quote. This juror also stated that the evidence photos of the dismembered body parts will be hard to erase from their memory. So she gets sentenced to, I believe it's 28 years to life. And we're going to fast forward to 2011. In 2011, October 2011, Omaima Nelson was still deemed a risk to society and denied parole, even though she claimed to be a changed woman who was eager to live the good life God meant. She said she looked for love in all the wrong places, but now her values were integrity and the journey, and has a strong desire to help others. And she told the board that she was grateful for the grace of God and her family, and if she was released, she would return to live with her mother in Egypt. As evidence of change, she cited visits she shared with her latest deceased husband, a man in his 70s, whom she married while she was in prison. So, yeah.
Someone married her?
Yes. And she said, quote, "We had 3-day conjugal visits. There were knives in the kitchen. He never felt threatened or endangered in any way. I loved him so much," end quote. By the way, when she married her husband and then he passed away, he left her all kinds of money. Oh, yeah.
How the hell did she meet him?
Oh, yeah. The girl's got it
Pen
going
pals?
on, even behind prison bars. She still found a sugar daddy. Yeah.
She must be absolutely stunning, like gorgeous.
Yeah. She definitely was in her younger years. Um, but yeah. Okay, so back to the parole hearing. The last person to speak before deliberations, before they denied her, was Bill Nelson's 35-year-old daughter, Margaret. After composing herself, she read a written statement about not having her father at her wedding or being able to introduce him to her 8-week-old daughter. She revealed that her father had invited her to that fateful Thanksgiving dinner to meet his new wife. She angrily refused, but he remained quiet, kind, and patient. She said the reason she was at the hearing was to return some human dignity to the man who was her father. She looked at the board and said, quote, I don't know the adequate punishment for a murderer who doesn't even leave a body to mourn over, but I do know you don't let her out, end quote. Omaima Nelson will be eligible for parole again in 2026. That's coming up. That's not that far away. 3 years from now.
No.
She will be 58 years old. So this story is to be continued. That's what we have.
What's so disturbing about this too is the fact that she went to an ex-boyfriend. How close can you be to the ex-boyfriend, right? And then like you're asking to help to get rid of a body. I mean, I'm just thinking of Lorena Bobbitt. Like
Mm-hmm.
she mutilated her ex-husband or whatever because he abused her. Like I don't know. That just does not add up. I know it's like you can't compare the two stories. People are different, things like that. But like, why the hell would she go to an ex-boyfriend for help?
I think she was desperate because the neighbor said that the garbage disposal was going on continuously all weekend until it broke, right? So you
Oh
know
my
that she
God.
shoved
And
body parts down that garbage disposal all weekend long until it broke, right? And that's why she had all these other pieces wrapped up and in trash bags. And now she's like, how do I get rid of it? And so she's so desperate that
but
she
wouldn't you
goes
think
to an
too,
ex.
if he really abused her, like neighbors probably would have heard, right? They
Well,
lived
I
in an
mean,
apartment.
they heard the garbage disposal and they just thought that maybe it was normal from Thanksgiving dinner. But they didn't know anything else.
I just can't believe that he abused her.
It makes you wonder, like, what really happened? I mean, I don't think that he did, but we weren't there.
Right.
But it's just really odd to me. The whole thing's odd. The whole thing's disturbing. I do believe she ate him when she admitted that to her psychiatrist, even though she still denies it, that she said that. Um, I think maybe she's just trying not to sound as bad. I don't know. I don't know. But I did think the Egyptian mythology claim with the dismemberment and was very interesting. It was an interesting take on why she did that. So I felt like
But
she
it's
did have reason for her thought process, at least with that.
right, but it's also disturbing if she used that as a ploy or like as a reasoning or excuse, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
mm, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
I sound like Owen Wilson. Like, I just cannot stop saying wow. Like,
Wow.
wow.
Wow. Yeah. That's it. That does it for like today's episode up until 2026. And hopefully we're still podcasting at that time and we can be like, hey, we checked in and she was denied parole again because I don't think she should be. Personally, I don't know if she should be let back out into society. I don't know. I don't know.
No. And I'm so sorry that his kids have to deal with this.
Yeah, I mean, they really ran his name through the mud, or she did anyway.
It breaks my heart that, that the daughter mentioned, to bring some dignity back to her father. Like, that's terrible.
It is terrible. All right. Thank you guys. If you actually stuck around and heard the whole thing, congratulations. You made it through. I hope you didn't get sick. If you can't get enough Operation Evil, consider supporting the podcast by joining our Patreon. And there are many perks and different tiers that you can choose from. But regardless of what tier you do pick, we will give you a shout out on at least one of our episodes. And you get one 30-minute bonus episode per month that is exclusive to our Patreon supporters, which I'm working on the next one. And I'm thinking I might go ahead and stick with another Thanksgiving theme. I don't know, but that'll be coming in like a week. Also, if you can't join our Patreon, consider buying us a coffee. It's a link that is in our show notes. It's where you can like do a one-time like $5 donation to buy us a coffee. Like anything like that to support us is awesome. But if you can't do it, that's awesome too. Just you telling your friends and sharing our stuff on Facebook is, what we love. So we appreciate when you guys do that. And yeah, I guess I don't know if we'll have another episode out before, I don't know the date, before Thanksgiving. If not, have a happy Thanksgiving and don't murder your spouse and eat at home. Okay. Do you have anything else? That's all I got for you.
Oh, goodness. Let us know what you think about the story.
Yeah.
Go to Facebook, leave comments, please do.
Yes. In the meantime, goodbye.
Bye.